It's your World War III watch. Let's just face it. It's already started. I'm here with co-host Jay Scott. We're going to try our best to go through with you guys all the happenings that have taken place in the last few hours. But more than that, we need to go back and kind of walk through these 12 days, as Trump called it in his tweet from yesterday on Truth Social. He called it a 12-day war. He wanted to package it and sell it that way before the 12th day was over. Well, here we are on the 12th day, and it's not over. So he might have got his team. They didn't do a good job of packaging this, but he's going to try and double down as much as he can on this. But I think we're hitting a wall with this narrative with him. And I'm not to say we feel bad for him, but hey, dude, you gave it a try. Didn't quite work out. Let's show people how this unfolded. We'll start from the ceasefire announcement up till now, and then I want to work back to how we even got there in the first place. So let's go to the ceasefire announcement. This is from yesterday. He says, "Congratulations to everyone. It's been fully agreed." And now, just to be clear, nothing had come out anywhere else. Nothing reported. Nothing from Israel. Nothing from Iran. Nothing from mainstream. Nothing from Fox. Nothing from nobody. This just randomly hit. And I believe I would. Yeah. What's that?
Twitter diplomacy. That's what Trump does best, right? Conduct geopolitical international relations on that has global implications, implications, on Twitter, like as it pops into his head, just throw it out there. Why wait? Why wait?
Just get it out there. And the keys on this is he's trying to say that we are 6 hours in, 6 more hours from now, it's going to be done. So he's preemptively telling us this thing is done in another 6 hours, which spoiler alert, it did not end. But he says Iran would start the ceasefire, and then on the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire. On the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. That's, man, doubling down on the certainty. I would like to congratulate both countries. And now here he goes, giving congratulations to everyone, the stamina, courage, intelligence. And then here we go with the quotes. It's the 12-day war. This is a war that would have gone for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't. It never will. God bless. And he says, this part I think is interesting. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America. God bless the world. He's sounding a little like little Miss Rachel there. When Miss Rachel says she wants all children to be safe and not get blown to pieces, and that's anti-Semitic to say that. So I don't know. I'm worried for his handlers might think that's a little anti-Semitic there, Jay. To God bless Iran too. God bless I don't know. It sounds a little anti-Semitic. That's just that.
If they said Christ is King is anti-Semitic, that's definitely anti-Semitic. So it's only a matter of time, I'm sure, before the ADL pops up.
Yeah, exactly. So now look, immediately Iran had said we know nothing about this, so it immediately turned this into nothing. But then fast forward, it was officially announced that they both did agree to something. So then now that set everybody off. I'm going to get into everybody name calling and saying, aha, I told you so. We'll do that in a second, but let's just replay. I played this clip at the top of the show, but I want to this is the end of the clip. The most important part. This is where Trump loses it when he wakes up this morning, just like we all have to wake up and go, oh, okay, what did I miss while I was sleeping? Well, Trump did the same thing we all do. Gets up in the morning and says, what did I miss while I was sleeping? Well, apparently you missed Israel broke the deal immediately. And here he is. Here he is talking about it. This is good. This is good television, as Trump would say. Good television.
Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before.
So let's be clear. They were trying to give him cover to blame it on Iran. And I'll give him a little credit here. He sounds like he's being 100% transparent. He sounds like he's at the end of his wit, Jay. I'm telling you, when he corrects that on the live feed here and says, no, whatever about Iran, Israel literally just backstabbed me. He's telling the world this. I think it's amazing to me because he's generally, if it was another president, if it was Kamala, I'm telling you, she wouldn't have done that. She would have stayed.
I don't buy it.
No?
Nah, I don't buy it. This is Trump's wrestling,
Yeah.
like stuff coming out. So this is pretty much,
Okay.
The Rock versus Stone Cold at the moment, or like they may pretend, like they're having an argument at the moment. And, Trump supporters think, he's trying to play 5D chess to get Israel out the picture. But the truth is they're slow walking us into a deeply unpopular war. But I know there's a little bit more in the clip you wanted to play, right?
Yeah,
What
let's
was that?
let's play where it
Go
goes.
ahead.
It goes further. Here we go.
Biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Oh, Stone Cold Stunner. That's what I see. That's what I'm, visualizing when I see Trump do that. It's a little bit of shock value. He wants everyone to think he's not in sync with Israel. So as he continues with the plan, he can paint it like he had no picture and, Israel just dragged him into it. But anyway, what do you think?
Okay, this isn't one or the other. It could be a combo. It could be a little of that, but I also think that they did remember. Look, things happened so quickly, but before Israel officially broke this thing, they were trying to blame it on Iran and say Iran broke it, and they tried to run with that, and then that failed. That narrative crumbled within hours, and then what happened after that was then Israel actually did break it, and Trump, I think he had to reposition himself, and if yes, this is ultimately going to get to the goal, which was always the regime change war. That's always been the goal. We've been saying that the whole time. This has been in the works for 30 years. We're going to double down on that. We're not letting up on that. That is what is happening. So, but I am saying at the same time, he seems legitimately pissed off there, and he's running his mouth and he's saying things that I do not think even a drunken, hungover Kamala would have said in the same position. She would have laughed her way through it, and she wouldn't have said Israel is fucking doesn't get it. She wouldn't have done that.
Here's the thing. There's two. All right. If Undertaker got in the ring one day and then opened a bottle of beer and started drinking it in the center of the ring, you'll be like, hold on, that's not his character. Like, that's Stone Cold. That's Stone Cold's character right there, right? So Trump's whole persona is loudmouth, tells it like it is, whatever comes into his mind, he just says it. He's an actor with how many seasons of The Apprentice? I forget how many seasons it is, but he's been doing it for a long time. I'm just saying, like, they have streets named after Donald Trump. They funded his whole campaign. This is just a show to make you think there's division between them. And if Trump said a few months ago that if you guys don't reach a deal in 60 days, it's going to be hell breaking out. And then on day 61, a fight breaks out. He was involved in that as he was leading the Iranians on. So this is all a show, in my opinion. This is just Trump, playing his part because he knows it's deeply unpopular. And that's why, all his MAGA influencers are able to go online right now and still make the 5D chess claims. And if you look at if you look at the stock market and the financial markets, they're not saying World War III. They're not saying Strait of Hormuz is going to get closed. So what I think we're looking at is a long, drawn out, regime change and balkanization operation, ultimately balkanization operation to break up Iran. And if that wasn't the case, we would have seen a lot more pandemonium in the markets right now. So that's my prediction. Maybe there will be an end to hostilities because right now Iranian news is even reporting that they won and they forced Israel into a ceasefire. So every side is trying to take credit to their own people right now. But it's not going to last because Israel never sticks by ceasefire agreements. Why are we pretending, like over here, like they actually will? The only difference in this case is Iran can hit back harder than anyone else that Israel has,
Yes.
like taken on from now. But that's why they need to have the United States on board behind the scenes. So, I'm 99.9% sure that's what we're seeing right here, because that's what following the money tells me.
Well, let's first, before we walk it back for these 12 days, this you sent this to me, and it's important people see this. This had just broke that Israel warns campaign against Iran is not over as ceasefire takes hold. So this is when was this? When did they announce this? Was this before he did his?
This is literally, I want to say, about 10 minutes before, your live started. I saw the screenshot at aljazeera.com, and it's just funny how you see those two conflicting headlines. Netanyahu's claiming victory, and the victory they claim is that they destroyed the nuclear facilities, but then they say, oh, but they might try to rebuild it. And if they do try to rebuild it, then we're going back in. So as soon as someone from the Iranian government picks up a phone and calls, a nuclear scientist over there to rebuild their civilian program that they're legally allowed to have according to international law, Israel's going to come out and say, oh, even though we won last time, we might have to continue on now because they're rebuilding the program. So, I don't expect that part to last long, and hopefully I'm wrong on that, because the longer the violence escalates over there, the greater chance we have of direct confrontation between America and Russia. Because don't forget, Iran has a treaty, a defense treaty. It's been ratified in both Iran and Russia now with Russia. So if we have this strong alliance with America, and American boots might get on the ground, and then Russia has this strong alliance with Iran, are they going to stand there if more boots come on the ground and we tag team against Iran? I mean, I don't know. So it's a dangerous situation.
Yeah. Well, let's do this, because I think people might have missed where this started from. And you mentioned Jay, the 60-day ultimatum. I guess it was you got to have the deal in 60 days. That wasn't actually agreed upon. That was thrown out on the table, and then retroactively, after Israel attacked Iran, then Trump eventually said that they ran out of time. And I'm going to remind people that there was an actual meeting on the calendar, and it was technically day 62 or 63. But again,
that's pretty close.
But what I'm saying is they already had that on the map. So it negated, in real time, it had negated the 60-day clock. It would be like if, let's say you have a, I don't know, I'm just going to say like a credit card payment due on a date, but you call in advance and you say, hey, can I get a 3-day extension? Yes, call me. Actually, I can't do it through the system, but you call me directly and I'll handle it for you, but you have to get me on the phone. And so we'll schedule, you call me on this day and I'll do it for you, because you and I have this arrangement. We're going to bypass this thing and we're going to do that. So if I call you at this number, you can bypass this for me can I do it on day 62? Absolutely. Here's the number. And then day 60 is over, day 61, and then you're blown up. Your house is blown up. That's what, or the house of the person, the house that told you that you're supposed to call me at this number and I'll do the thing for you. That person, you find out their house is blown up and their family is killed. Not accidentally, not coincidentally or bad luck, because you were going to make that deal and somebody didn't want you to make that. I'm just making a comparison. That's how effed up this was. So let's tell people, because they don't know about the negotiator, the 4 negotiators that were murdered before the Sunday deal on day 62 could even happen. That's what the Israel attack was, to murder these people.
Well, what I would say is not every, debt collection agency is actually, abides by the law. Some of them do have crooked practices. The American government definitely doesn't abide by international law. And, Trump wanted Iran to take the first deal that was given to them. And, essentially, implied in his original 60-day announcement that, this is an urgent issue. We're going to address it. And if it isn't done in 60 days, then you guys are going to have problems. And that's exactly what played out. So what we saw happen was a bad faith negotiator who never really intended to have a deal, set out this arbitrary, mark that it has to be done in 60 days. And even though they were in negotiations, technically it wasn't done in 60 days. And Trump's goal isn't to have a deal with Iran. In my opinion, Trump's actual goal is regime change and balkanization so they can stop Iran from being a powerful enough country to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a country that has a ton of natural resources, which they all have their eyes on. So if you think about it, as Trump's actual end goal being first regime change or maybe balkanization simultaneously, but ultimately balkanization, which is the breaking up of the country, then all of it makes complete sense, because he doesn't want to deal with Iran. Like, he may not want American boots on the ground, but if we can fund enough destabilization over there, because right now you have people in Iran, Kurds in Iran right now, calling for a greater Kurdistan. If you can make the ethnic minorities over there do the fighting for you and draw it out over a long period of time, like what happened in Syria with different groups battling against each other, we can pay people on the thinking is that we can pay people on the ground to do that part for us with just a little bit of help from Israel. But the truth is, I guess what they didn't count on is how powerful Iran's actual military is, and they took more damage more quickly in in Israel than they would have liked. So that's why I think they have to adjust the plan a little bit. But the goal is not to have a treaty with Iran. The goal, like a long-lasting treaty with Iran, the goal is to keep their guard down. So we keep floating the idea out there, but we really want to change the government into one that's compliant with everything the West does. Because guess what, Matt? They nationalize their resources. What happens if all the countries that we put our bases in decide to nationalize their resources and take ownership over them instead of the the American companies that own them now? So it's a bad precedent. They can't stay there. They can't continue doing that. So.
Well, look, we're mostly in agreement. However, I think you might be giving Trump a little too much credit on his even ability to maneuver through this.
He's
beyond the fact that he's not the one making the call. I want to be. He wants his legacy. I think he goes to sleep and I think dreaming of how he can solve this Rubik's Cube and get his Pulitzer Prize. Or the peace. I'm sorry. His peace,
is it that or money? You think
it's legacy. It's the greatest ever. It's peace president. He's actually narcissistically and over optimistically thinking he can solve something. And I think that was legitimate anger you saw in that clip. Legitimate anger that these people are effing psychotic. And how do you solve this Rubik's Cube? How can you do this? So I look, regime change war is a thing he ran against. So unless you can tell me that there was a moment that he woke up on his own, not being blackmailed, not being bribed, not being forced, not being captured, is there a day he woke up and he goes, you know what? I'm going to change my entire philosophy. I don't really believe that anymore.
I mean, did Barack...
What day was that? Because I still believe that he thinks that he can outsmart something very advanced, very, very dark and sick and twisted. And the thing that's been captured, our entire system has been captured by it for decades and decades. And he thinks he can go in and do something about it. He's not making these decisions. I'm telling you, he's not. I'm not trying to give him cover. I'm not trying to, do a sympathy card for, oh, poor Trump, he's in over his head. I'm saying that it's a reveal moment that a guy with a mouth that big and that can make decisions by throwing tweets out there isn't able to make decisions. Let me just talk this you. I do not think that he knew this was going to happen. This is the negotiator. His name is Ali Shamkhani. He was the head negotiator. There were 4 of them. All 4 of them were taken out. All 4 of them were taken out. There were 4 chairs ready for him that Sunday. Okay. This Ali Shamkhani, who was the head negotiator, he played this central role of putting something together here for this deal. And he was ready to close the deal. He had an interview, a very rare interview with Richard Engel 2 weeks before he was murdered. Here's a clip from that interview. This is the guy I believe Trump wanted to go in a room and sit down with that Sunday. He no longer could do that because Israel made the call to take him out. Trump didn't make the call. Israel made the call to take him out. Here's
You
the
can't
interview.
separate them.
Here's the interview.
You can't separate.
We are ready.
Shemhani is one of the few people in Iran authorized to speak about the sensitive negotiations.
We
We can definitely have better relations with the U.S.
Shemhani said that Iran is willing to commit to never having a nuclear weapon, to getting rid of its stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, to only enriching to a level needed for civilian use, and to allow inspectors in to oversee it all, in exchange for lifting all sanctions immediately. He said Iran would accept that deal tonight.
And now he's murdered, along with his family, by the way. Okay? Now, when Trump heard the news, he said, we had nothing to do with that. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. And then the very next morning, he had to backstep because everybody got on his ass and said, no, you did know about this. And he goes, well, maybe I did know, but I'm not going to tell people. No, you are. We're all going to do it. We're all. So his little fake news, CNN and his fake news, they all did it. They all did it. CNN, what's her name? What's that Zionist? What's that horrible Zionist chick on CNN? She gets on, she goes, I've talked to Trump. He fully knew this. He was on board the whole time. Okay. Netanyahu gets on TV immediately and says, Trump outsmart. He's so great. He outsmarted you. He did it on purpose. He pretended not to know. And now, but he actually knew. We're in this together. High five. Ted Cruz goes on with Tucker, says, we're bombing Iran. And Tucker goes, what? I thought it was Israel. Nah, man, Israel, us, whatever, man, whatever. We're all in this together. I don't think Trump is fully, he has to be told, dude, this is the new thing. This is now the thing we're all doing. You have to do it.
I can't do it. Yeah, you see, me personally, I can't buy that because Israel would not exist without America's unconditional backing, right? So if Israel actually did something to like sabotage America's, like, you know, the people who run America's interests, then they could be cut off, you know, like at the snap of a finger, you know, if that was the case. However, what this essentially does is establish the fact that Trump, well, to his supporters, Trump is trying to rein in Israel. This is what, you know, most of his supporters are saying online right now. So in order to even engage in negotiations with Iran, you have to pretend that you and Israel are not tied at the hip, because we can see what Benjamin Netanyahu, you know, is saying. So you have to pretend there's some separation if you want to at least keep them coming to negotiations. They would have no interest in the negotiations if it was plainly obvious that whatever, you know, Israel says, you know, like we go along with. So if you just look at how the situation is manipulated by, you know, how the situation is portrayed by each of their bases, it just tells me that it could be, you know, like a plan. So that's why I have the feeling, I just think Israel took more of a pounding. So maybe that threw people off, and the timeline, you know, had to get sped up. And yeah, because if you go actually to your WhatsApp, you'll see I had sent you a clip from the Haifa mayor. I don't think we had a chance to show that on last week's show, right? But it was the Haifa mayor who's talking about how we don't have 2 weeks, you know, like after Trump's announcement of we'll decide in 2 weeks if we can get involved or not, the Haifa mayor, and, you know, that's where they have a lot of the oil refineries that Iran actually hit. You know, he said we don't have 2 weeks, and we know the interceptors are running out. But yeah, man, I think it's a mistake to separate
let's bring that up.
Netanyahu from Trump. I think they're both the same.
Let's bring it up. I have it right here. This is the mayor you're speaking of. Let's hear this one.
There's diplomacy going on in Geneva right now with the Iranian foreign minister, some European foreign ministers. President Trump right now has said he's going to wait 2 weeks before he makes a decision what to happen next. What are you hoping for from these different diplomatic pieces?
Peace, that the peace treaty will come out of it.
And President Trump waiting 2 weeks to make a decision. What do you think about that?
It's too much.
Why?
Because we have no time. You see what's going in the middle time.
That there's more destruction.
They have to sit now and negotiate and design a treaty. It's not a big deal, and do it.
In your understanding, President Trump's analysis of what's going on is giving time for diplomacy, it appears. Are you happy with what you hear from him? Because one day it seems to be he's leaning towards the military action, another day seems to be leaning towards diplomacy. What's your sense?
A fixed answer I can't get from Trump. And this bothers me.
Why?
Because I like stability.
So yeah, as you guys can see, they're taking a pounding over there. This isn't even counting, the number of interceptor missiles that have been launched, because what Iran is doing is essentially overwhelming their Iron Dome system, because each of their missiles cost a few $1,000s, and to shoot them down, it costs us like over $1 million. So if they build a lot of cheap missiles and just fire them off at Israel, then, it keeps the interceptor, missiles busy, while the actual ballistic missiles kind of sneak in and take out the targets that they're going for. So Iran has a really good strategy. They've been preparing for this moment, honestly, for decades, and they have a really big local industrial base where they can actually make their own weapons. So there's no way Israel would think that it would be able to take on Iran and defeat Iran alone. Like, they always knew that America would get involved. There was never a question of whether America would get involved. It's just a question of when and how can they sell it to the American people without causing Trump to lose, complete credibility. Because we both know wars aren't popular, and we both know that's why Trump won, because he was supposed to be the guy. Like, I was just listening to clips of him like last year saying, if Kamala wins, there will be a war with Iran within 1 year. I guess he left off the part about, him saying if he wins, he'll do it in 6 months. I don't know how that worked, but he ran as an anti-war candidate, knowing he was taking all this Zionist money, knowing about the Greater Israel Project, and he sold a dream. That's my opinion.
He sold a dream. I think he sold it to himself too. I think the narcissist in him believed he's going to find a way to maneuver through this and do the art of the deal. And he thinks that hey, we made a deal, it's done. But he didn't. He is underestimating the insanity and the psychopathness of Netanyahu and the
follow the money, man.
Okay. All right. But look. Let's just do this. We can agree to disagree on this one point, but the overall point that we agree on is the Greater Israel Project is real. The regime change wars are real, and the infighting between the MAGAs is very real and very concerning, because the ones that give their allegiance to Trump, these guys were ready to bash the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens and the Alex Jones and the Ian Carrolls. They were ready to bash the crap out of him. When Trump tweeted out, "We have a deal," and then it was confirmed on Fox and all that. Oh yes, Iran, and that was when they got it. They go, "Ha, we were right." And I'm going to show you what happened. And this part's really concerning to me, because how the hell would you think this is the time to say, "I told you so, you pieces of ass"? Where are you now? Where are you now, Tucker? Where are you? Nothing's happened. It's just an announcement. And the fact is, Israel has a history of breaking ceasefires immediately. They do this every single freaking time. But this kind of upset me, because we've shared out Clandestine before. He's somebody that has used to have some stuff right. He was very good on Ukraine war and stuff like that. But he said someone's got to do something about the breaking news brigade. The ceasefire is still not officially gone into effect, and Trump told us there would be a final mission, yet all the clickbait accounts are spreading fake news. Can they not read the damn post? It says ceasefire starts in 6 hours. So preemptively, he's attacking the people calling out Israel on the MAGA side, attacking that this is a regime change war in the work, because we're not even 6 hours there and they're still concerned. Well, they have every right to be concerned. Look at this. he particularly names Candace Owen, Ian Carroll. You two should be ashamed of yourselves. Show your face in public again. The pure arrogance and ubers oozing out of you is disgusting. I've never seen somebody so confidently wrong. Delete your. I mean, this is insane, man. And this guy's got a lot of followers that are ready to attack people 6 hours before the deal was going to go through. There is no deal. There's no effing deal. Look, Ariel, I like this. This guy's been good with predictions and stuff. He just starts. Oh, you guys notice all the people backpedaling? Write the names down so we can make fun of them. Tell me who you got. I can't because I unfollowed them. Well, good. I mean, this is really idiotic and really dumb because, again, it didn't actually happen. And you're going to take the side closer to Tucker and Candace, who've been skeptical, rightly so. They're not going to celebrate. They're not going to congratulate Trump for a job well done when nothing has happened just because he put out a tweet. It's pretty lame, man. And I think that we have to understand that it's about the critical thinking that we come from, and we can have little tiny disagreements about, who's really running the ship and who wants this one, but we understand what the real plan is. And if you think that you're going to give your allegiance to one guy and then attack anyone who is skeptical, you're behaving no different than the DNC and Hillary Clinton does. How they shame their voters and shame people for how dare you doubt us.
It's cancel culture.
Yeah. And now you got Trump tweeting this out. I think this was right before that interview where he lost it. Well, I know you said it's totally theater, but I think he's angry. This tweet, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do it, it's a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. To me, it's coming across as he's not as confident as he was just hours ago when he's trying to sell the 12-day war. He was packaging it, Jay. He's putting it on the bookshelves. He was throwing it up on Amazon. 12-day war brought to you by me, the greatest art of the deal ever, dude. Like that. So he doesn't have the control he thought. Again, I hear you saying about the theater, but the most important thing is his followers need to chill out and need to start understanding that the best thing you can do is ask questions and challenge the people that you vote for. That's what you're supposed to do. The Democrats don't do it at all. Some of the Republicans are doing it. Let them do it.
A lot of the Republicans, actually. A lot of MAGA is pushing back right now.
Yes. Let them do it. Don't shame the people asking questions. It's stupid. Ariel, clandestine. It's effing stupid for you to be like, well, it's stupid.
It's the exact same trap that the left falls into, and it's so surprising seeing the same tactics work on both sides, like and back to back, like so close to each other. Like, wow, like you guys didn't notice the left just blindly following Kamala and Biden like into Ukraine, and so now you guys are going to do the same thing like for your guy, because notice, like it was the same strategy like with Ukraine when you think about it, right? Because it was never America's going to war with Ukraine. We're gonna get directly involved. It was always just backing Ukraine up. So in a few ways, like you could argue that his foreign policy is at least as bad as Kamala's, considering how he's now like bombed Iran. So I would say it's just the same course. Biden wound down Afghanistan to go into Ukraine, and now Trump is winding down Ukraine to go into Israel. But he's taken an even more direct role than we took in Ukraine. So that's something to think about.
Yeah. Well, look, let's finish this up with the thing this segment. Let's finish this up with the map you sent me. So I want you to explain this to our viewers, what this, because you indicated this before. Is this a feasible plan or that they're going for? It's not feasible, but you think this is what they're actually going for. Obviously, it's not feasible. This doesn't make any sense at all. This is actually what they're trying to do?
No, I don't think it's what they actually want to do. I don't think it's feasible. I think that they're telling this to people in those places that this is what we're going for, to get those people to act in a way that benefits them. So do I think the Greater Israel Project is possible? Absolutely not. Like, if you look at the number of people who are in the areas right now that the Greater Israel Project is supposed to be in, and you look at the number of Jews in existence and the fact that Judaism doesn't even encourage people to convert like other religions, there's no way that the number of Jews on this earth can take up a land as big as, you know, as the Greater Israel Project. And while there is a ethnic group called the Kurds that's in several different countries, they don't have nearly the numbers also to support a piece of land that big. But if you tell both of these groups that, yeah, we're going to build this for you guys if you just push back against the current regime, then they will be motivated to do the dirty work of the West without the West having to get as involved. So, you know, if you go look up, you know, the influence of the Kurds there in Turkey, you know, they've had big issues actually with the government of Turkey. Same thing in Syria. They had big issues with the government over there. And in Iran, they haven't been as active, but they are, you know, located in Iran too. So, you know, this is the level of evil that the people controlling the world like operate under. They don't mind selling this dream to people and causing millions to die all over the world. And you know who tweeted out this map?
Who?
A guy like an Israeli Zionist who was talking about why they need to support the Kurds over in Syria and in Turkey. And that's one of the reasons why Israel and Turkey don't have the greatest of relations, because even though, you know, they both play buddy, you know, with the West, they don't see eye to eye like on this issue. So that, and of course the fact that there's a lot of Muslims in Turkey, and you know, Muslims in general don't appreciate what's happening in Palestine. So, you know, it's a sad situation that this many people are being manipulated, but the truth is, if you get the people to believe that this can happen, even if it doesn't happen, what you're going to do is cause them to go fight their government and destabilize their countries. And then, you know, it gives other people an excuse to come in and say, well, let America come in and stabilize the situation, you know, between these two different groups that are battling each other. Don't worry, we'll protect you guys. We'll keep the peace. So that's what I think the ultimate goal is.
It can work too. You look at that and you go, oh, this looks legitimate. These are the people trying to hold on to that adage that we just have to protect the intent, the original good intention of Greater Israel. There was a good intention behind it. If we only it's not, there's never a good intention. It was always about domination, complete annihilation. I've heard this argument too. We had Alex Stranger. We had a great discussion. Him and Pasta. You guys should go check it out. Full interview is up on our Rumble and YouTube right now. Alex Stranger. But this came up and it was like, we talked about Greater Israel Project. And he goes, that doesn't make sense. The Greater Israel Project, I get it, but it doesn't make sense because there's not enough Jews in the world to take up all that land. And it's like, I don't think you know how power works and getting territory and land works.
But they believe it. There are Zionists on TV in Israel, you know, who talk about how they're going to do it. They presented a plan at the UN, you know, like showing the Greater Israel Project. So the level of evil is insane. But if the goal is to control resources and destabilize governments, then we don't need Israel to do that much more than what they're already doing, because they're going to fund insurgencies.
Yeah. And for those who still think that, oh, if only I voted for Kamala, or if only my friends that I don't talk to ever again because they voted for Trump, maybe they're realizing they should have voted for Kamala and none of this would have happened. They should be shamed right now for not even thinking that there should be no, for all of you thinking that, watch this.
Foreign policy. Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you have proof that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
The greatest threat to America, Matt, is the threat to Israel. That's the greatest threat to America.
And that's something we all can agree on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, I can't wait for my tax dollars to go to rebuilding Israel, who's the victim in this scenario, who is getting attacked for absolutely no reason. I don't, I can't wait for them to send off money because things are perfect here in America. Nothing to worry about.
Well, that is World War III watch for you guys, and let's just face it, it's already started.